Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunatu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinha Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sataracharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Samasta Janakalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavad Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Hari Om. So last week we had seen the introduction to this text called Drig-Drishya Viveka. Viveka means clarity. Drig means the seer or experiencer. And Drishya means the seen or experienced. So the very title itself tells you exactly what this text is about. It is going to give us clarity between the experiencer and the experienced. We also said this text is authored by Sri Adi Shankaracharya Ji, and we said that the text follows a method of inquiry about oneself, about the individual. So in technical language, this is called Tvam Pada Vichar. Inquiry into what is the Tvam Pada. Tvam means you, the word you. And this Tvam Pada is taken from the great Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi. You are that. So largely it is an inquiry into the subject, into me. Who am I? This is the main focus of it. And the reason we need this clarification is because there's a lot of confusion as to who am I. And this confusion as to who am I causes lots of problems everywhere throughout our life. In fact, it is the main cause of all our confusions and thus sorrows in life. Not knowing who I am then leads to an incorrect relationship with this world, which then leads to me taking up the wrong action or action without purpose, action without direction, action without clarity, which then means action without confidence. So I end up living in this world with a lot of hesitation, with a lot of doubt. Because fundamentally, I'm not clear if I should be doing this. I'm not clear if this is meant for me. I'm not clear, is this the goal that I want? I'm not clear, thus on is this the path I'm supposed to choose? So when there's a lack of clarity in all these areas, then certainly there's a lot of doubt, hesitation, which is really born of fear. So with a lack of clarity, we end up living with greater fear, hesitation. Thus, to have clarity of oneself and one's relationship with this world is going to give us tremendous amount of fearlessness. fearlessness. That we will feel confident about interacting with this world. We will feel confident about the goals we have set, and we will feel confident about the path and choices that we are making moment to moment. Okay, so this is what is Drig-Drishya Vivek. This is the reason for studying Drig-Drishya Vivek. And that, as I said, we had elaborated last week. And now itself, we will start the very first verse. The very first verse of Drig-Drishya Vivek. It's a very famous verse, and it is definitely one that is worth memorizing. So here now, I will just share the screen, and you can repeat after me. Rupam drishyam lochanam draka. Rupam drishyam lochanam draka. Tadrishyam draktumanasam. Tadrishyam draktumanasam. Drishyadi vrittaya sakshi. Drishyadi vrittaya sakshi. Drige vanatu drishyate. Drige vanatu drishyate. Now, I'm going to read the translation from my textbook, which has Guruji's, Swami Tejamayanandaji's commentary. The eye is the seer and form is the seen. That eye is the seen and the mind is its seer. The witness alone is the seer of thoughts in the mind and never the seen. Now, first of all, this is the first verse of the text. And one thing which is quite different and unusual in this text is that in most texts you will find the first verse is actually an invocation. It's generally an invocation or a namaskar. Viveku Chudamani Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Sadgurum Pranatosmyaham. Namaskars to Guru and God. Here we don't find any namaskar is given. But actually that does not mean that the text is incomplete. In fact, the main reason for this namaskar is that our attunement with the higher is the most important. Our attunement with the higher is the purpose behind doing a namaskar. Invoking humility and attuning to the higher source of knowledge, which is God and Guru. How can we invoke such attunement? Very simple. It is the name of God which has to be taken. If the name of God is taken, then one is connected to the Lord. That's the main thing. And here, the name of God is taken. The name of God, the higher pure consciousness, is taken in the form of the word Sakshi. Sakshi is the word. So when the word Sakshi is given, Sakshi Drigeva Natu Drishyate, that word Sakshi represents Paramatma, represents Ishvara, represents God, higher pure consciousness. So in this way, the namaskar is done at a very high mental level by merely saying the name of the divine. Here the author has become attuned with the divine itself. Okay, so that helps us to understand why there is no formal namaskar mantra. And in Guruji's commentary, he's also said the word Sakshi is given as the name of God, even in Gita. In chapter 9, verse 18, Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nevasa Sharanam Suhrado. So Bhagavan has said that he is Sakshi. Yeah, that is given in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, verse 18. Now, let us look at this mantra. This mantra, or this first verse, is most fascinating because in this, really the entire overview is given so beautifully of the text. Yeah. What does it say here? Rupam Drishyam. Rupam Drishyam. Form and color, Rupam, are seen. Drishyam. Drishyam means seen, experienced. And who is the seer or experiencer of this form and color? It is Lochanam Drika. Lochanam means eyes. Eyes. Eyes experiencer, seer, and form is seen. Then it says, next statement, Tadrusham Draktumanasam. Tad, that becomes the seen. What becomes the seen? Eyes. So the word tad refers to Lochana. Those eyes then become the object of experience. And who is the experiencer? Manasam, mind. The mind becomes the experiencer or seer, and the eyes become the object of experience. Yeah. Then it says, next one, Drishyadi Vrittaya Sakshi Druk. That Drishyadi Vrittaya, the vritti is thoughts of the mind. The thoughts of the mind become object. And then who is the seer? The seer is Sakshi, witnessing consciousness. So witnessing consciousness becomes the seer. And does this witnessing consciousness ever become an object? Does it ever become the seen? No. Drigeva natu drishyate. This Sakshi is Drig Eva. It is the ultimate seer. It is the ultimate experiencer. Natu drishyate. It never becomes seen, known, experienced. It never becomes an object. Okay. So essentially there are 4 sentences here. These 4 sentences, you can almost write them down next, one below each other. And in that, you can put in the first one, you can make a column. One column, you put subject or seer. The next column, you put object or seen. 2 columns. And you have 4 lines. And in the first statement, object is form and color. Subject is eyes. In the second statement, you will have mind is the seer, eyes become seen or object. Third statement, Sakshi is seer, and mind and thoughts become seen. And in the last one, Sakshi alone again is seer, and it has no one else. There is no one else that can see this Sakshi. Okay, it always remains as seer. Okay, so in this, the entire plot of this text has been given. Now, it has used these words repeatedly, Drishyam Druk, Drishyam Druk, Drishyam Duk, which we said, Drig-Drishya Viveka. Yeah, straight from the very title of the text. Drishyam, seen, experienced, also means object. Object. Druk, seer, experiencer, subject. Subject. In all experiences, in an experiencer to take place, you need these 2 factors. You need a subject and you need an object. Only when subject comes in contact with object, then do you get what is called an experience. Then you have an experience. Subject comes in contact with object. Otherwise called experiencer, experienceder, and the relationship experiencer. Yeah. But here we will use the word now subject and object. Okay, so whenever I say subject, it's referring to, subject is referring to the seer. And whenever I say object, it is referring to the seen. Seen. Okay, so subject and object. So now this text is dissecting our experiences. It's dissecting our experiences in order to find out who is the real seer or subject. Who's the real subject? And what are all the different objects that are there? So now the text is going to explore this relationship, the relationship of subject to object. And there are some factors that we need to be aware when now understanding the nature of subject and object relationship. So there are 4 factors. There are many factors. We're going to look at 4 factors. 4 factors which help to characterize the relationship of subject to object. 4 factors. Okay. The first factor is the subject is different to the object. Subject is different to object. In any given experience, the subject is different to the object. Okay. In any given experience. Yeah. Now you'll see here, you say, wait a minute. In the first one, eyes were the seer, and then the second one, eyes became seen. So subject became object. No. One experience is experience of eye seeing color. The next experience is the one of mind seeing the eyes. Okay? So they're 2 different experiences. They're 2 different experiences. But in any one given experience, you must understand subject is always different to object. So that's the first aspect of their relationship we have to be aware. So principle 1. Principle 2, subject is one, objects are many. Subject is one, object can be many. Object can be one, but object can be one or many. Subject can only be one. Subject can only be one. Yeah. Principle 3. Subject is unaffected, uncontaminated, unstained by the experience. Object changes and modifies. That means object gets affected. So subject remains unchanged. Object changes or modifies. And last aspect, the subject must always be sentient. Sentient. Sentient means conscious. Chaitanyam. Chetana. It must be Chetana Vastu. So it must be conscious. And the object is then inert. Object is inert. Jada. In Sanskrit, Jada Vastu. It's called Jada Vastu. So, subject Chetana, conscious. Object Jada. It is inert. These are the 4 factors that govern the relationship between subject and object. Yeah. And each one of these is going to be demonstrated in the next few verses. So the next few verses is going to take each one of these. It's going to even take this first verse. This first verse is then elaborated in the next 4 verses. Okay? It's elaborated in the next 4 verses. But these 4 factors are there. The first one, subject is different to object. Subject is one, object is many. Subject is unaffected. Object changes or modifies. And subject is sentient. Object is inert. Okay? These are the 4 factors which are given. Now, question is, what exactly is a subject? What do you mean by subject? So, simply put, a subject is that which cannot be objectified. Yeah? Subject is that which cannot be objectified. What does objectified mean? Made into an object of perception. Made into an object of cognition. Made into an object of awareness. Anything that can be made into an object of awareness, cognition, perception. Perception at the level of senses. Cognition at the level of mind and intellect. Yeah. If something can be made, let's look at our BMI chart. Now, BMI chart, you have body, mind, intellect, and body perceives objects, mind feels emotions, intellect thinks thoughts. So when body perceives an object, body is able to take an object, and the object becomes, is objectified. It is perceived. It is perceived. So now this object is an object of perception for the senses. Emotions and thoughts are cognized or made aware, become aware of them, and they are cognized by mind and intellect. So emotions and thoughts also become objects, yeah, to these. So what does it mean to be objectified? It means to become an object of cognition or perception. If something can become an object of cognition or perception, it can be objectified, and if it can be objectified, it is thus not the subject. It is not the subject, because the subject is that which cannot be objectified. Okay, that's a simple definition. Yeah. And again, in this first verse, the first three statements, Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Draka, is actually going to be explained in the next verse. Tadrishyam Draktu Manasam, that will follow verse. Drishyadi Vrittya Sakshi, and the verse after that. And they're quite simple. And in the experience of seeing color and form become the object, eyes become subject. Now when I look through my mind, I start to recognize my eyes themselves have got different conditions. The eye can become object. How does the eye become object? Whether you are short-sighted, whether you are long-sighted, whether you have sharp vision or dull vision. When you say I have sharp vision 20/20 or dull vision, all of a sudden the eye has now become an object. And someone else is viewing that eye. Someone else is assessing the condition of that eye. The one who is assessing the condition of that eye, that has become the subject. And it is the mind that is doing that. The mind is viewing the condition of the eye and saying, you know, my eyes used to be so much better. When I was young, I had such sharp eyesight. No, I can't see anything. Things are getting worse. The glasses are getting thicker. So what that means is the condition of the eye you've become aware of it. You've come to know the changes in the condition of the senses. Who is aware of the changes in the condition of the senses? It is the mind. Tadrisham Draktu Manasam. Then this mind, what is this mind? This mind is nothing but vrittis. Vrittis mean thoughts. Different thoughts, different feelings, different emotions. And we are certainly aware of our different feelings and thoughts because they keep changing so fast. Our feelings and thought change so fast. So we are certainly aware. The minute we wake up, we have a mood. What mood are you in? I'm in the mood to do nothing. Why? Because the office is closed. Can't go anywhere. Can't do anything. So I'm in a mood to sit in my pajamas all day. Okay, sit in your pajamas. You're in pajama mood. So the mood of wearing pajamas all day, that is a mood. Who is aware of the moods and changes of your mind? That is Sakshi. Sakshi means pure consciousness. It's a pure consciousness which is seeing the mood of the mind or intellect. Yeah. So Drishyadi Vrittya Sakshi. So Sakshi becomes subject. Mind, emotions, and thoughts become object. Now the question is it possible for Sakshi to ever become object? Because in all these examples, you took the subject and you made it into object. And every following statement you brought in, what previously was subject, you turned it into object. Now, is there another statement to turn Sakshi into an object? And is there something else watching the Sakshi? Can ever the Sakshi become an object? And to that, the answer is no. Sakshi drik eva natu drishyate. Natu drishyate, it is never seen. Never seen, it never becomes an object. Sakshi, the ultimate subject, never becomes an object. So consciousness can never become object. But a person might, where did you come to this conclusion? Huh? Now, how did you just say that Sakshi just doesn't become an object? Now you think, consciousness, we're saying cannot become an object. Now, if consciousness becomes object, we'd ask a question. Who's looking at consciousness? Who is now the subject if consciousness becomes object? Who is that subject? You have three possibilities. There are three possibilities in this. Something inert is watching the consciousness. Something that is conscious is watching consciousness. Or you have void. There is nothing there. Nothing left over. Some people believe in that. They believe the ultimate experience is shunyam. So now these three are there. Now we just look at it. It's quite easy to understand these three. Take the last one, void, nothingness. Is there some empty space that is the ultimate subject? Now, how can a void be the ultimate subject? That which is a void, that which is shunyam, that which is zero, that which is nothingness, that cannot become anything. Nothingness cannot even exist. That's the whole thing. Nothing can exist. If nothing exists, then it's something. Thus, shunyam is not possible. It is not possible for shunyam to become the ultimate sakshi. So shunyam now gone. Let us take inert, some jadavastu. Something else is watching consciousness. Now you say jadavastu, inert. The problem is inert can't see anything. Because we said one of the relationships was subject has to be conscious, object is then inert. That means that which is inert doesn't have the capacity to see anything else. Yeah. Say we take this table is here. This table doesn't have the capacity to see anything. Why? The table is inert. Even if you say, take the earlier statements, I is the seer. I only becomes the seer when I is connected with consciousness. If the eyeball is not connected to consciousness, I does not become a seer. Take a dead person. For a dead person, consciousness is gone. So now my consciousness is gone for a dead person. Can that dead person's eye see anything? No, it is now reduced to jadam. It is reduced to matter. And once it's reduced to matter, then it can't see anything. So if we think of the second option was, can inert come to watch consciousness? No, it can't. Inert doesn't have the capacity to become an experiencer. Consciousness only can become experiencer. Consciousness only can become subject. Therefore, inert cannot become the subject and consciousness cannot become object. Okay? So we said there are three possibilities. We said three possibilities. If Sakshi was ever to become an object, three possibilities. We said one was inert, one was shunyam, and the last one was another consciousness is there. Another consciousness is watching Sakshi. Another consciousness. Now, if you say another consciousness is watching Sakshi, the question you then have, what is the difference between Sakshi consciousness and this other consciousness? Because Sakshi itself is consciousness only. Now, what's the difference? Yeah? Is there a difference between Sakshi consciousness and this other consciousness? And what we find is consciousness does not have any differences. Consciousness doesn't have any differences. It is only when consciousness gets identified with matter that through the prism of matter, consciousness appears to be different. When you take light and you shine it through a prism, you know what a prism is? It's that which starts bending the rays of the light. Then all of a sudden, different ray bands of that light seem to come out. So the only way that consciousness appears to be different is because you have put a medium in front of it. You've put a medium in front of it. But otherwise, it is not. It is one and it is the same. So consciousness being one and the same, then can there be another consciousness seeing Sakshi? No. There is no other consciousness. So what are we left with? We are left with inert can't see Sakshi, shunyam cannot see Sakshi, and another consciousness cannot see Sakshi because there's no difference. Thus, it is established Sakshi Drigeva Natu Drishyate. Sakshi alone is the ultimate subject. Consciousness alone is the ultimate seer, and it never becomes an object to be seen. Okay. So with that, this is just this first verse is just setting up the next few verses. Okay. So the main thing to understand from this first verse is what is subject, what is an object. An object is that which can be perceived, that which can be cognized, objectified. What is a subject? That which cannot be perceived, that cannot be cognized, cannot be objectified. What is the nature of their relationship? Subject is always different to object in any given experience. Subject is one, object can be many. Subject remains unchanged or unaffected. Object can change and modify. And subject is chetana, conscious, and object is jada, inert. Okay? So now let us work through each one of the examples. So this next verse is taking from the first quarter of the first verse. Rupam drishyam lochanam draka, that is now being expanded upon in verse number 2. So we'll chant this verse. Nilapita stula sukshma Nila pita stula sukshma raswa dirgadi bedataha raswa dirgadi bedataha nana vidhani rupani vidhani rupani pashet lochanamekada pashet lochanamekada. Now, what does this have to say? The forms are many and varied on account of differences like blue, yellow, gross, subtle, short, long, etc. The eye remaining the same sees them all. Okay. So here in this illustration, the seer is the eye. And the seen is all the forms and colors of the objects. So all forms and colors of objects, they are the object, the seen, and I is the seer, the eyeball. Eyeball is the seer. Of course, eyeball connected to consciousness only. No, not the dead man's eyeball. The eyeball connected to consciousness only is single. Don't pull your eye out and say, oh, let's see what does this work? Oh, it's not working now. Swamiji, your example doesn't work. Keep your eye in its socket. Please don't pull it out, whatever happens, to try and disprove my theory, okay? Or the theory of Shankaracharya. The eyeball must be connected to consciousness, okay? So now what does it say? Neela. Neela, blue. Pita, yellow. Stula, gross. Sukshma, subtle. Hraswa, short. Dirga, long. Adi, etc. Vedataha, vedata, differences, 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 differences. Variety. Nana vidani rupani, all these rupas, forms, colors, nana vidani, come in so much variety. Nana means many. Nana nani is not grandparents, okay? Nana in Sanskrit means many. Oh, Nana got mentioned in here. Oh, wonderful. Oh, Nana got mentioned. No, Nana means many, vidani, various. Many and varied, variety. Rupani, forms, colors, all these things. Pashe lochanam ekada. Ekada means one. Lochanam, the eyes as one sees all these different forms. The eyes as one sees all the different various forms and colors. Okay, so here, we are now starting at the grossest level, because our inquiry has to go, who is the ultimate experiencer? Who am I? Now, if you look at it, initially when we think of ourselves as the body. This is our initial identification. Who am I? I am this body. We don't say I am this body. But what we say is, I am son of so-and-so, I am daughter of so-and-so, son and daughter. Who is son and daughter? The body which is born of this particular person is then the son of this person, the daughter of this person. Mind and intellect is not actually son and daughter. It is body that is called son and daughter. Yeah. I am of your own flesh and blood. We say that, no? Flesh and blood. You are of flesh and blood. Yeah, that means what? It is body that relates us to this world outside. And then aren't we very conscious of our appearance? We're so conscious of I want to look good. I want to look good. Who is the I? The body only. I want to look good. That's what I'm finding the problem now. The problem now with all these online classes is everyone is in my face looking at me at such close range. Previously, in a normal class, everyone sits 10 meters away, 20 meters away. Now everyone is 1 foot away from my face. So they can see all my face on the side here. you sat at a distance, you might disguise. I could disguise. Oh, I must look good. Yeah. So our initial preoccupation, our initial identification is always physical. It's with the body. And that's why the inquiry starts here. Yeah. That at the level of physicality, let us understand here who is subject, who is object. And here it says I is subject, the eyeball is a subject. Objects outside, the outside world, anything outside of the body has now become an object. Neela Peter, Neela, I can look at the sky. Oh, sky is blue. Sky is now an object. Peter, yellow. This cloth is yellow. So cloth has now become object. Stula, gross. Gross means very tangible. Very tangible. Yeah. So very hard, very firm. I can touch it. Yeah, I can touch it. It is stula. Yeah. So there's a rock sitting in front of you. Rock is stula. You can sit on it. Sukshma, like fog. You know, like fog is there. Mist is there. Yeah. They're like sukshma. Clouds. Clouds are sukshma. From a distance, they look like they are big billowing pillows. And then when your airplane goes through it, nothing is there only. Airplane just goes straight through it. So sukshma. So objects which are subtle, objects which are gross, all of them remain objects. Hraswa and dirgha. Hraswa means short and dirgha means long. So long means far away. We see things far away. We see long road. This road goes on forever. Dirgha. And hraswa. Oh, hraswa. Things that are very short, very small. Nowadays, you know, they make those AirPods. They're so small. One little thing stick in your ear. And you know, I didn't know that they make a variety of these things. So once one of the builders was here, he was doing tradesmen. And I was going to talk to him. And then I saw, oh, he's got cotton in his ear. Some white plug was in his ear. It was completely circular. The plug was in. I thought, oh, maybe he's keeping this in there to protect his ears because a lot of loud drilling and noise he was making. And then look, this every day he had this thing in his ears, this white plug. And you know, in India, people wear that when it's cold, you know, they put cotton in their ears. And I thought, wow, this young Australian chap has taken up to the Indian tradition of putting cotton in his ear. The problem was it was 42 degrees. I couldn't understand why 42-degree day, why this man would put cotton in his ear. Took me a while to figure out actually he was wearing the latest AirPods. So in these AirPods, it's just one round disc, so small, in his ear. I couldn't even tell. Objects which are raswa. Raswa means small, little things. We can see. Who sees them all? Lochanam. I see these. And there are many varieties. Eyes are quite fascinating actually. How many things our eyes can see. You know, some animals, they don't even have colored vision. They only see black and white. They're colorblind. We can see so many colors and shades, textures. It's so fascinating. Just the study of the eyes is so fascinating. So many different things. But here, what is the point that is being shown here? Here, the point is that the seer is one, the objects are many. Seer is one ekada, ekada means one. And seen are many and varied. Such a huge variety is there. Huge variety of objects of different colors, different, thickness, different textures, stula, sukshma, yeah, and then different sizes, hraswa, dirgha, short and big. So objects can come in a massive variety. Objects can be of all different varieties. Even in spite of all the variety, the seer is only one. It is eyeballs only that are seeing all these different objects. Now, eyeballs are seeing all these different objects. Now, even though eyeballs are two, you might go, Swamiji, eyeballs are two. But the vision in your head is only one. The picture in your head is only one. No one sees two pictures. Now, when you look at this screen, there are many pictures going on. Many different people. I can see many different people. But in your head, when you have an experience in front of you, you only have one vision. You don't have two visions going on with one L and one R, left and right. We don't have that. They both get combined and merged. So the vision is only one. And when they show X-ray, they show left and right. They put them next to each other. But when we see things, we don't see like that. We see them both integrated as one whole. Therefore, our vision is one, but the objects we see are many and varied. Many and varied. And here we have, what we have to note is that, okay, subject is one, objects are many, that's one thing. But you know, we can get identified with objects. See here, who is the subject? Subject is taken as physical form, body. And anything outside of this body is considered an object. And what was the number one characteristic of the relationship? Subject and object are different. But just think what happens in life. In life, whatever you pay attention to, when you pay a lot of attention to that thing, all of a sudden this magical thing happens, and it's called identification. It's called identification. And identification is when Drig and Drishya become blurred, become one. Subject and object become one. So here, the identification with objects is being challenged. The identification with things outside of your body is being challenged. We so easily identify with those things. Yeah. Our biggest physical object of identification, of course, our phone. Our phone, don't touch my phone. Where's my phone? Can't live without my phone. Nowadays, if we lose our phone, people prefer to lose their mind than lose their phone. Why? Because their entire memory is in their phone. My mind hasn't got any memory. Yeah? My phone got plenty of memory. My mind, no memory. Yeah? That's why everywhere we go, take photos of everything. Take photos of all your beloved. Why? Because you forget who they are. Our mind is so bad, we won't know who the people living in the house were. You have to come home every day, just check, are these the same people in the house? Yes, that is my husband. Yes, that is my wife. Yes, that is my child. Why? Everything is saved on phone. Yeah. So our phone has become, you see how identified we are? We become so identified with that. Now people we become identified with. People are also objects actually. Because people are what? Seen. People are objects. My body is the subject, my eye is the subject, and the people are the object, but I become identified with people. And when people are suffering, ooh, I am suffering. That's why generally when a child is going for year 12, I always like to look at both the parents before. And then during the course of the year 12, I like to look at the parent. And whichever parent starts getting very white very quickly, I know that parent is more identified with the child. Because that parent will lose their hair, that parent will go gray. In that 1 year, they will go from father to grandfather, mother to grandmother. They will be in appearance. They will look like that. And you don't need to ask them what happened. You don't need to ask them. Somebody has gone through year 12. When somebody has gone through year 12, this is what happens. That's why you don't need to be a grandmother by waiting for your child to have a child. You can look like a grandmother just by letting your child go through year 12. When your child goes through year 12, you're going to look like a grandmother. It's very easy. Yeah, everything goes great. So, in this way, what happens? You see, these are objects we become identified with. And the text is saying subject has to be separated from object, because Viveka means that. Viveka means to separate the two. Never forget that. That's what Viveka means. To distinguish, to discern, to be clear about what is the subject and what is the object. So here we have to become aware, what are my identifications with? What objects am I identified with? Anything outside this body, mother, father, child, phone, car, house, all these things are objects that are outside. They're outside of my body. So this is an area where the body, being the subject, is getting mixed up with objects which are outside of me. So there's one level to check our attachments and our identifications with. It's a good question to ask. What objects outside of my body am I identified with? What objects outside of my body am I identified with? And how do you know you're identified with something? If there is a change in that object, you experience a change within yourself. You feel the change is happening to you. So if the object is degrading, perishing, you feel you are degrading and perishing. When we watch a cricket match, when we watch sports, this is the easiest way to understand identification. Just watch a sports match. Any match, usually I give cricket, but let's talk tennis. We also watch tennis, called Australian Open. And when we watch tennis, we always side with one person. There's one person we love. And then you got people that are die-hard. Federer fans. They are die-hard Federer. They want Federer to get maximum amount of Grand Slams. So when Federer is playing Nadal or Djokovic, oh, come on! And every time ball goes over the net, my heart skips a beat. And then, you know, when the ball just hits so close and you can't tell, and then there's some challenge, they would call it challenge. And when that challenge is there, this camera comes, ring, and then expands. And honestly, I don't know how they get this level of accuracy. I don't know what type of satellite in orbit they're using to get this type of accuracy, whether they're using all government money to figure out whether the tennis ball was in or out. I don't know where they get this technology from. It seems so advanced. That they just show, it missed by this much. And if that is your player, if his shot is out, oh, if his shot is in, oh, yeah. So happy. Why are you getting affected by what happens to Federer or Nadal? Are you getting any of his prize money? I don't think so. Is he going to give a vote of thanks to you when he wins the champ? I would like to thank my fans sitting in Glen Waverley in their house watching me. I don't know what his name is, but I'm so thankful for him. You get no vote of thanks. You get no paycheck. You get nothing. So there's no benefit whatsoever. You gain nothing. Also, if he loses, you lose nothing. But there is such an intimate experience of being affected by this. Being affected by this. That experience of being affected by the change in the object, that is called identification. It's called identification. When the object changes and you take that change on yourself, you feel it's happening to you, that if he wins, I'm a winner. If he loses, I'm a loser. That's called identification. It's called tada. Okay. So here, the identification of gross body to gross object is the first level he's trying to separate. Separate objects outside from me, the body. Even at the body level, if you take yourself as the body, don't become identified with the objects outside. Yeah? That if your phone has got no charge, it doesn't mean you have no charge. You should have some charge in life. Don't wait for your phone to be charged before you feel charged. Yeah? So in this way, We can question and do the vichar, inquire into the nature of our identification with objects outside. Okay, but here it's also showing seer is one, seen are many. Let us now move on to the next verse. This is verse 3. Okay. Andya patuttveshu netra dharmeshu chaikada sankalpayen mana shrotra tvagadho yojyatam idam. Here, translation: the mind remaining the same knows the different characteristics of the eye, such as blindness, dullness, and sharpness. This also applies in the case of the ear, skin, etc. So now, this is scenario 2. We are moving now closer to ourselves. In the first scenario, subject is taken as body, body is taken as subject, body with senses, and the world of objects outside is considered as object. Now the next scenario, the body itself is questioned as an object. The senses are taken as object, and mind is taken as subject. Mind, manaha, is taken as subject. So in this scenario, senses have now become object, mind has become subject. And what does it say? Andya. Andya means blindness. Andya, andya, blindness. Mandya, dullness. Mandata. Manda means dull. Blindness, dullness. Padutveshu, padutvam, sharpness. Vakpudutvam. Hanumat smaranat bhavet. Buddhir balam yashodhahiryam nirbhayatvam arogata. Ajadyam vak pututvam cha. Hanumat smaranat bhavet. And Hanuman Jayanti is tomorrow. Yeah. So Hanumanji is vak pututvam. Sharpness in speech. Pututvam is sharpness. Here, andya patutveshu, blindness, dullness, sharpness. Of what? Netra dharmeshu. Netra, the characteristics of the eye. These are characteristics of the eye. Dharma, characteristics, netra, eye. Sankalpayet. Sankalpayet means perceived or conceived. Conceived. We can say conceived. These are conceived. Who conceives them? Manaha. Manaha. Mind conceives the different characteristics of the eye, such as blindness, dullness, and sharpness. And what is the nature of that mind? Ekada. The mind is ekada, because mind is subject. Subject, ekada, one. Ekada means one. Because mind is the subject. And the subject is one, mind. And this principle of the mind seeing the characteristics and qualities of the eyes can be carried into all the senses. Tvag, shrotra, tvag ado yojyatam idam. It can be applied to all the senses. Shrotra, hearing. Tvag, sensation, feeling of the skin. Yeah, touch, touch. Taste, touch, hearing, and of course seeing and smelling. That's jnanendriyas. Jnanendriyas also, karmendriyas are also there. Grasping, walking, evacuating, yeah, production and speech. Yeah, all these are senses. So now Dashendriya, 10 senses. Now these 10 senses, they have got changing characteristics. The eyes, when we're first born, eyes also can't focus on anything. Little newborn baby can't see very far. It is stick your face in front of it, and then you get a reaction. Well, most of the time it's scared, but you just stick your face. If you at a distance, it can't see. So the eyes are not very well developed. Then it goes to its growth, maturity, puberty, and all of a sudden eyes are sharp, full adulthood. And then after that, as we age, we know the eyes also deteriorate. Yeah. Things will be so clear all of a sudden, they start looking like this. And then when people read books, they used to read like this, now they start doing yoga reading. Why is it yoga reading? Because as you read, you start doing stretches of your back. Yeah, you have to move the book here, move the book there. So it's called yoga the reading of yoga. Yoga reading, right? You have to move here, move there. That means why? Eyes, the condition of the eyes has deteriorated. It's an interesting thing because if you think about it, the condition of my eyes has deteriorated. Who is aware of that change? Who is aware of the deterioration of your eyes? Because in this, I am aware that my eyesight is deteriorating. I am aware my eyesight is deteriorating. And what does this mean? I and eyesight are now two different things. I plus my eyesight are two different things. I am aware my eyesight is deteriorating. So eyesight has become object and I remain subject. And who is that I? Here is mind. It is mind that is seeing the condition of senses. So mind here is seeing the changes in the senses. So the main point, Now, one of the points to note here is that if we look at our relationship between subject and object, then this second one can be, third one can be taken. Subject is unchanged, object changes. Here, object is changing, object is deteriorating. Eyesight is deteriorating. But the blindness, dullness, or sharpness, it is changing, it is modifying. So the object is modifying. What is happening to the subject? It is the same. The mind is the same. In this example, the mind, which is the subject, it remains the same. And it is seeing the change or deterioration in the object. So this is rule 3 in our subject-object relationship. Rule 3 was what? Subject remains unchanging, unaffected. Object changes and modifies. Object changes and modifies. Okay. This is a very, very important principle to understand. Because really a lot of our sorrows actually are born out of this. A lot of our sorrows, apprehensions are born out of what? When object starts changing and I am identified with that object, then I feel that I am changing. I feel that I am changing. So when object changes, now the change can be positive, the change can be negative. The change can be an increase or the change can be decrease. So when we are in infant stage, In an infant stage, the body is going to increase. There's going to be positive change, greater strength, greater sharpness of senses, greater power of senses, greater perception, fuller detail. All that is going to come. So that's an exciting phase. It's a very exciting. That's why it's so fun to be a youth. Why is it fun to be a youth? Because a youth is when the senses are at their maximum. Our senses are at their maximum strength when we are young. Yuva, that's why Yuva is the best. We love being a youth. And young people shouldn't get too excited. I don't think I'm commending you, because in 10 years' time, you're also on the way out. Way out. Yeah. But when we're young, oh, it's so nice. Yeah. We can eat so much food, and we don't have to deal with stomach problems at night and taking lactose tablets and all these things. Yeah, we can eat whatever. Why? Senses are strong. We can see, we can listen to loud music, without it ringing in our ears for the next 5 days. But when you get older and you listen to loud music, all of a sudden you get a headache because of that. Yeah, we can go from one intense physical experience to another one. Loud music, bright lights, we can do all this. And there's no pain. We feel so wonderful. But as you get older, put that music down, please. Put it down. Why TV is always on? Turn the TV. If you keep looking at that computer, you'll blow your eyeballs out. That's what we say when we get older. That's how we know. When we start thinking in this way, we know senses are now changing. They are deteriorating. Now, what does this mean? What this means is, if you look, this is here, the mind is identified with the body. Mind is identified with the body. And the problem with the mind being identified with the body has got a set course. And the course and journey of the body is same for all. It is the same for all. When he said there are 6 levels for the body. What are the 6 levels? Asti, conception. Jayate, birth. Vardate, growth. Viparinamate, maturation. They're the good ones. Then the next 2, apakshiyate, decay. And nashati, death. These are the 6 changes given to the body. Everyone's destiny. No one is free of that. Anyone who has got a body will have to go through these 6. Conception, birth, growth, maturation. Then after maturation, apakshiyate, decline, and then decline leads to death. So in this example, if you see, what is the object here? The object is the senses and the body. The object is the senses and the body, and the subject is the mind. If you look at our experience in our life, our experience of life is that our mind and our body feel so completely connected. They feel so completely connected, which means as these changes invariably take place, and especially the last 2, the decay and the death, as they start taking place, the mind, if it's identified with them, is going to be very disturbed. Because the mind is going to feel, as the body decays, I am decaying. As the body loses power, I am losing power. As the body is incapable of doing things, I am incapable of doing things. And that's why this experience can be very jarring, very unnerving, very unpleasant, and it doesn't require anyone else to do anything to you. See, many other sorrows, they come because of foreign elements. Somebody said nasty words to you. Yeah? You lost your job. All these are external causes of what apparent external causes of our sorrow. Now, even if I shield myself from nasty comments, if I shield myself from job loss, I got plenty of wealth, I got job security, yeah? Even if you shield yourself from all these things, you cannot stop passage of time. Time stops for no man, which means this body, its destiny is the same for all. All of us are going to go through it, that there is going to be a down scale where it goes through apakshiyate, decrease, decline, loss of strength, loss of vigor, loss of capacity. And if I am identified with that body, I am going to be very disturbed when this starts taking place. I am going to start feeling with every deterioration, every stage of deterioration, I am going to feel that I am deteriorating. And that's why this Drig-Drishya Viveka is beautiful, because here it is saying, no, separate yourself. Body is an object. Body is an object, and you are the subject. Here, you are the mind, and the mind is seeing the deterioration of the body. And because we are separate entities, even as this body and senses deteriorates, it doesn't mean that I am deteriorating. I do not deteriorate. I am not becoming weaker. I am not becoming ineffective. The body is becoming weaker, ineffective, and deteriorating. I am not. Even at the level of the mind, that's why we say mind over matter. What is mind over matter? Those people who have managed to disconnect themselves from their body, to see their body as an object. Those people that have managed to do that, they have managed to use the vitality and strength of their mind to create such a fulfilling life in spite of an ailing body. In spite of an ailing body, they have such a fulfilling, full, meaningful life because they've learned to keep the body as an object. It's a tool, it's an instrument. It doesn't define me. And so in this way, what happens, the object and its changes do not affect me, who is the subject. So I, the subject, unchanging, objects are changing and modifying. That was rule 3 of the relationship. Subject is changeless, untainted, unaffected. Object is constantly changing. And here in this example, the object is the body and senses, and we know it is the destiny of everyone's body that it has to undergo deterioration and death. But even in spite of the deterioration of the body, I, the subject, am not deteriorating. I am not deteriorating. I remain healthy, vigorous, full, capable. Everything is available for me. Yeah, I am full. Yeah, I am purnam. Body may deteriorate, doesn't mean I am lost. Yeah, there is no loss for me. So in this way, this verse itself becomes a very powerful, reassuring verse, especially in this time of pandemic, when this virus has the capacity to influence what? It's influencing our body. The virus has the capacity to temporarily immobilize our body And if we are able to see that body as an object, then even if we get hit by that virus, if we learn to see the body as an object, then we can go through that experience without so much anxiety, fear, hesitation. Why? We see the object is being affected, the object is changing, but I, the subject, am not changing or affected. I, the subject, am not changing or affected. In this way, I can maintain my poise, my composure throughout all physical illnesses and difficulties. Okay. So here, seer is not affected or tainted. Seen is affected and tainted. Okay. With that, we have seen elaboration of two principles, the two illustrations. More will continue on next week. It'll look at the mind. It'll see how to see the mind as an object. And then who is the subject of that? That we will take up next week. Okay. This week, then write down what physical objects that you feel you're very attached to. Those objects, when there's a change in their condition or state, causes you a lot of disturbance. And just keep practicing that I, the subject, am unaffected by the change in object. I lose nothing, I gain nothing from the change in object. Just keep reminding yourself of that thought throughout the week, and we'll see what impact it has upon your state of being. Okay, we'll finish for today. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.